Welcome back to the Meidas Defense podcast. I'm your host, Joe Plenzler. Today, we're taking a deep dive into a conversation about national security, public trust, and what it truly means to represent the American people when the stakes couldn't be higher. In recent years, the gap between traditional military culture and civilian political rhetoric has widened into a chasm. While political campaigns often trade in sound bites and hyperpartisanship, the military operates on an apolitical ethos that puts the Constitution of the United States and the safety and security of our citizens above all else. Joining us today is retired Rear Admiral Eileen Laubacher. She spent 34 years in the United States Navy as a senior intelligence officer and advised at the National Security Council under multiple administrations. She's a mother of 5 whose military career spanned operational deployments to Afghanistan, command oversight, and high-level defense strategy. Now she's entered into the political arena, running for Congress in Colorado's 4th Congressional District against incumbent and MAGA embarrassment, Lauren Boebert. Yeah, you've heard about her. In this in-depth interview, Admiral Laubacher offers a candid assessment of the economic strain hitting rural America, the erosion of meritocracy within the Department of Defense, and the hidden costs of reckless foreign policy. We begin with a fundamental question. After more than 3 decades in uniform, why does she transition into elective politics? For career military leaders, stepping into electoral politics is rarely the initial dream. The armed forces instill a deep commitment to nonpartisanship, a boundary designed to protect democratic institutions from politicalization. But Admiral Laubacher explains, watching foundational public institutions unravel forced her to rethink where her service was needed most.
That's such a great question, Joe. I would tell you, no part of me ever thought that I would be doing something like this. You know, I've never been interested in being a politician, but, you know, in the last year and a half, January, February, March of last year, right? Watching all these institutions and organizations that I've just given my whole life for just be torn apart before my eyes. I just really felt that call again, that call to serve, to try to make a difference at this time, to get more grownups in the room, more people who believe in bringing people together and solving hard problems, right? Rather than tearing things apart. And I just felt that I had to do this, that we just need, well, frankly, we need more veterans and we need more people who understand that these jobs are about service, not about self. So, yeah.
Yeah. You bring up a great point because, when it's done right, the military brings people from every demographic, every corner of America, socioeconomic status, you name it, religions, political views.
Yeah.
And we all subordinate ourselves to the greater, higher purpose of defending the country and our oath to the Constitution. Other people get into politics to engage in this really divisive political theater and grasp that power.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, you've been a Navy intelligence officer, you've been a commander. How has your military background shaped how politics should be?
Yeah. So I think, you bring up some really great points about the idea that the military is a nonpartisan organization, right? It's not to be politicized. It is about serving our country. When I deployed to Afghanistan in 2009, my husband and I knew that deployment was coming. As an intelligence officer, much in demand, right? And I was leaving him with a 10, 8, 6, 4, and 1-year-old for a year. Yeah. But, we talked about the fact that we wanted our kids to know that we believe that there are things that are worth sacrificing for and things that are worth dying for. And for me, that has always been America. And I just don't see that in politics today, right? I do not, certainly Lauren Boebert is not someone who believes that this is about service. Yeah. There are a lot of people like her in Congress who believe it's about becoming internet famous and it's about becoming wealthy and it's about becoming powerful. And I always say the job descriptions and the title representative. It's about people you serve, not the person who's doing the serving.
That core distinction, service versus self-promotion, sets the tone for her campaign. But as the conversation turns from philosophy to real-world policy, the operational costs of Trump's strategic decisions come into sharp focus. Few topics in the interview are treated with as much gravity as national security and foreign military engagements. Drawing from her intelligence background, Admiral Laubacher delivers a devastating critique of escalating conflicts, specifically addressing the ongoing military operations involving Iran and the broader Middle East. She argues that starting a war without a clear, achievable end state violates every basic principle of strategic planning taught at senior service colleges. From soaring defense expenditures to the physical toll on deployed troops, the strategic math doesn't add up.
Well, I got to tell you, I would say the Iran war, right? I mean, you look at the impact that it is having on every aspect of our lives. I mean, first of all, the cost, the number cost is incredibly high, well over $30 billion now, right? Plus, I mean, and if you look at it, we've lost like over $2.5 billion in aircraft alone, depletion of our munitions to dangerous levels that take a long time to build back up. Like if you look at how long it takes to get Tomahawk missiles delivered and those kinds of things. But also the impact on our relationships with our allies and partners. To what end, right? We have not achieved regime change. We are not safer. We are creating more adversaries and future enemies. But you also look at the cost and obviously there are financial costs that are being knock-on effects, right? For people in my district, it's in terms of price of fuel, price of fertilizer. Those are off the charts. But also let's look at the 18 service members who have died, right? And the cost to them and to their families, but also the hundreds of people who have been injured with, we don't know what kinds of injuries. I mean, I'd imagine traumatic brain injuries, the strain on the sailors who are serving on board sailors and Marines on board the Abraham Lincoln that was now at 8 months and counting for deployment. The toll is immense. And I think this is really serious with regards to our national security on, like I said, a short, medium, and long term. And we have people like Lauren Boebert, who said she was against the Iran war, and now she's voted four times to keep it going. And that is the kind of, that's that say one thing, do another that I get so incredibly frustrated with in Congress. But the impact to us is huge. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the top, you bring up a point. It's just kind of, we have this absentee Congress, really. I mean, when you think about it, like their job is to raise armies and navies and declare war, right? And rein in, what in the times that we have a reckless person in the executive branch running as the president, to rein them in. Right. And that is not happening right now. I mean, in fact, under Mike Johnson's leadership, it almost seems like the House of Representatives is a Donald Trump presidential cheering section. And you're right. Like, defense is serious business for serious people, because when bombs and bullets start to fly, people die. And it's not just the 18 dead U.S. service members, or this 600 plus, if we can believe Pete Hegseth's latest news. I think it's more. I think they're hiding casualties from us. But it's thousands of Iranians and Lebanese and other people in the region. It's tens of thousands wounded. It's hundreds of thousands, if not millions, displaced. But what does this do to U.S. credibility when we have no strategy, or we whiplash between we're going to totally bomb them, or they're brilliant people and they're hard negotiators? You've dealt with our allies. What does it do for our credibility around the world?
Well, it is not good for our credibility. And I do want to say part of the other frustration is, as military officers, right? We want war to be the last resort. And if there are opportunities for negotiations on the table, which there were, to unilaterally start a war is something that is not what America should be about.
As Admiral Laubacher notes, global strategic miscalculations don't stay confined to geopolitical briefing rooms. They ripple outward, crashing directly into the daily lives of working class American families, especially in the heartland. For farmers and ranchers in eastern Colorado, maritime choke points like the Strait of Hormuz aren't abstract geography. Roughly 20 to 25% of the world's petroleum and fertilizer moves through that narrow corridor. When conflict disrupts shipping lanes, global input costs skyrocket. In the interview, Admiral Laubacher brings up the gap between high-level naval operations and local agricultural survival, illustrating how rising diesel prices, tariff pressures, and equipment costs are pushing American family farms to the brink.
I was just talking to farmers in Lamar on Friday. Yeah. They were talking about the fact that a lot of them have decided they cannot afford fertilizer. And so they are going to not fertilize their crops. The impact of that on crops, this is, if you can look out at how that plays across the nation, I mean, this is going to have a huge impact on America. And And frankly, rural America is also a big part of our national security and the damage that is being done to them in every possible way, not to mention with tariffs, the fact that everything that they do costs more money. But every single piece, let me tell you a quick story. So I was talking to a farmer out of Lamar, and he was telling me that he had this bolt that he needed to buy and this is like a bolt to connect tractor to combine, right? And he needs like 8 of these. So he goes to and of course I'm a homeowner. So I'm picturing bolts. I'm picturing something that's like this long. So he gives me the bolt, and it's like, it's huge. Right? And he tells me that 2 years ago, that bolt cost him $7 for a bolt. So he goes up to the counter at the hardware store, and he's joking with the checkout guy. He's like, hey, how much do you think it costs now? Right? You think it's going to cost $12? And the guy's like, maybe $15. $28.20. That's what it cost him now. Like every single aspect of the people in my district's lives are being made more difficult by this administration and the choices that they're making, and the war and the tariffs and all of this echoing together. And all of that has been joyously supported by our current representative, Lauren Boebert. And that is causing people genuine pain.
This pressure isn't limited to agriculture. It extends to essential rural infrastructure. Rear Admiral Laubacher points out that out of 14 rural hospitals across Colorado's 4th District, many executives project they will be forced to close within the next 5 years if strategic funding and rising operational costs aren't contained. A stark reminder that communal health is fundamentally tied to national security. While economic pressures strain local communities, institutional pressures are fracturing the internal cohesion of the military itself. We've noticed a disturbing trend within the Pentagon, the growing politicalization of promotion boards and senior leadership appointments. For generations, the military's promotion system was held up as a premier meritocracy in America, designed to advance officers based on their objective evaluations, tactical and strategic competence, and proven leadership. Today, that process is facing unprecedented political interference from Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth and their cronies.
For the first time ever, people are being pulled off of promotion lists for political reasons. The military has always prided itself on its board process, by which we pick the best and most highly qualified officers for the next position, the next rank. And we are seeing people like Amy Bauernschmidt, right? First female commanding officer of an aircraft carrier, pulled off the 2-star list. Yeah. Superb officer. Those 3 women being pulled off the Navy and the Army 1-star list. That sends a message not just to women in the military about how valued they are, but to everyone in the military, that it is not about your qualifications anymore. It is about whatever it is that this administration wants and what they value. And that is not the way the military is supposed to be. That is never the way the military has functioned. And that is doing long-term damage, in my perspective.
Whether examining foreign policy, agriculture, economics, or institutional integrity, Eileen's message is straightforward. Effective governance requires serious, experienced leadership that prioritizes results over political theater. I couldn't agree more. To learn about her background and congressional campaign, go to her site at eileenforcolorado.com. Thanks for tuning in to the Meidas Defense podcast. You can follow me, Joe Plenzler, at Substack. And if you want a deeper dive, follow Valor Media, also on Substack, for more in-depth coverage. And until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and most importantly, get involved and take action.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.